Hi, this is Tomato Tim in Zone 9B in Northern California, and it's January 8th, 2025. And believe it or not, I'm still picking vine-ripened tomatoes. I've got a nice bowl here. It's our determinate tomato plants are completing their second round of tomatoes where they all get ripe at once. There's an urban legend out there that says that you can only get one crop out of a determinate tomatoes. In other words, that it's once and done. But as I said before, if you have enough time, like we do with sunny weather, you can continue to get successive crops. And in this case, this is the second crop off of the plants. So I'm sure this is the last time this season that we'll be picking tomatoes, and we're already getting ready to do our starts in January, before the end of January, so we've got a lot of work to do. I hope my wife, Debbie of Organic Oasis, is going to cook something really yummy for me using these tomatoes for us, using the tomatoes, so we're looking forward to that.
Hi, this is Debbie from Organic Oasis in California, Zone 9B. And we just had a cameo appearance from Tomato Tim showing his tomatoes, the last harvest. And he needs to get these tomato plants out of the bags and get them prepped for our little seedlings that we'll be putting in March or early April. Yeah, it's time right now to prep the bags and get ready for spring. And so he's out there pulling his plants and cutting the tomatoes, and these were the very last that he got off of there. Now, they're not the prettiest tomatoes, and but they're still better than store-bought. So like this tomato here is good. It's got a few little black spots on it. The flavor may not be as sweet as in the summer with the longer days and the hot sun. Tomatoes do like the hot sun, but this is still way better using these organic tomatoes than going to the grocery store and buying tomatoes that we don't know where they came from. They've been imported from somewhere and they're probably sprayed with tons of pesticides. So I'm gonna go through these tomatoes and cut off the parts that aren't good and use the edible parts. And today I'm gonna be showing you how to make this delicious slow cooker chicken green enchilada soup recipe. And I saw it online. It was actually on Facebook, and it was really hard to get the recipe. I Googled everything looking for it, and I saw lots of green enchilada soup recipes with cream and all kinds of cheese thrown in it, and cream cheese. And even though that may be delicious, it sounds delicious, it's just not my thing. I don't like the creamy, really loaded with fat type of soups. I'm always looking for something more fresh and healthy. So I finally found the recipe, and the ingredients are great. I'm gonna be using these tomatoes. I'll be using my own canned Tomatillo green enchilada sauce that I actually have a video posted on YouTube when I made that. I'm gonna be using some of my dehydrated hot pepper flakes. I also have a video on how to make that. I'm going to be opening a can of my sliced peppers that I also have a recipe on how to make that. And then the last thing I'll be using from my canned products is instead of throwing in 2 cups of chicken broth, I'll be using my home canned vegetable broth. So follow along and let's make this delicious, cozy soup. That was Neone, our parrot. He's 25 years old now, and I guess he thought I'm funny, but anyway, follow along and we'll make this delicious, cozy soup recipe, and I will also post the instructions and the ingredients today when I post the video under the description. Thanks for following. So let's start making our cozy green enchilada soup with chicken. This is gonna be a great recipe. So I'm gonna start off by just putting my boneless, 1 pound of boneless, skinless chicken breast right on the bottom. And if you follow my recipes, you know I always use the organic Costco chicken or Kirkland chicken. So I put that in, just 3 chicken breasts. On top of that, you pour your 10-ounce can or jar of green enchilada sauce. Now I canned this, I grew my own tomatillos, and I did a video on how to process the green tomatillos and make this delicious green enchilada tomatillo sauce. So in here I have more than 10 ounces. I actually have almost 15 or 16 ounces, but I'm just gonna pour my whole can in, my whole jar in. Now, if you do your own canning, you always look at this, look at the jar, look at the top of it, smell it, and make sure everything looks good. If anything looks funky or weird, you're gonna throw it away. Luckily, I've never had that issue, but I'm gonna put this all over my chicken, just like that. So the next thing that we are gonna put in is a can of beans. The recipe calls for black beans, and I have lots of black beans. I love black beans. So I've opened my can. I always use the organic beans. I opened it, I put it in a colander or strainer, and I rinsed it really well. So now I'm just gonna pour this over the top of the chicken and the green enchilada sauce. So it talks about putting in your diced tomatoes, and it's 1 can, 14.5-ounce can of diced tomatoes. I showed earlier the tomatoes from our garden that we're still getting in January in California, Zone 9B. We're just, you know, California Zone 9B is a really warm climate. We have a very warm climate, and we get very few frost days, and our frosts only get down to like 32, maybe 31 degrees. So I took these, this is probably 16 ounces, but I threw a lot of them away, but the ones that were still good, I was able to cut up. So I'm gonna pour these. You can use canned, it's okay if you don't have tomatoes still. Just use canned. It calls for a can of corn, and I do not have corn. I have grown corn before, and I have frozen corn, but I do not have any corn in my house, so I'm not putting that in. The tomatoes, it talks about if you buy a can, buy them with green chilies. Since I'm using my own fresh tomatoes. I also can peppers. Here's a jar of my beautiful canned peppers. Oops, some of the sauce just went in. These are pickled peppers. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just strain these and rinse them. So here's my chilies. As you can see, I have a mixed hot, and I pretty much do mixed peppers. So I just grow a lot of peppers, and I put my hot and my sweet together. I like it, and then it's more of a mild spice versus a really hot. So I'm gonna pour those in. And I'm also gonna go ahead and, because I do like spicy, I'm gonna put in some of my dehydrated pepper flakes. I also have a video on how to do this. I'm using a 1/2 teaspoon measure, so I'm gonna put in 2 1/2 teaspoons that will equal 1 teaspoon. On top of all this, we're gonna put some garlic, and I still am using the minced garlic from Kirkland. Now, I'm growing garlic outside, and they're just beautiful. The garlic so far is almost 1 foot tall. I'll show you when I harvest that, but it won't be for quite some time. So we put in the garlic, we put in pepper, just to taste. I like to just put a lot of pepper and salt. You can taste it at the end and then put in more after it's all cooked if you need more. I usually just as a default put in a teaspoon of salt. I don't like a lot of salt, so I usually don't add any more. Chili powder, a teaspoon. So since I'm using a 1/2 teaspoon measure, I'm gonna put in 2 of these to equal 1 teaspoon. If you know you love chili, the flavor, go ahead and put in more. Cumin, a teaspoon. I'm just putting in heaping ½ teaspoon, so that's a lot though. And the last thing is you pour over the top 2 cups of chicken broth. But you might have seen my video where I made my own vegetable broth and canned it. So I'm just gonna put that in. Again, you open up your cans and you make sure it smells good and it looks good. And I'm just gonna pour my 2 cups of vegetable broth. This is a pint, so I know it's 2 cups. I'm just gonna pour it all over the top. Just like this, and then swirl it to get out any of the sediment on the bottom. This smells delicious. Okay, here's one thing I forgot to put in was my chopped onion. That probably should have gone underneath. The chopped onion should have gone under the garlic, but that's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and it's all gonna cook. It's gonna start simmering. This will cook in the slow cooker for 6 to 8 hours on low or on high for 3 to 4 hours. And as it cooks, it's gonna start bubbling and everything's gonna mix together. You can also give this a little stir halfway through if you're home. You can kind of stir it if you want it to mix up more. I might just take this right now and do just kind of a little mixing to get some of the onions on top into the broth. Kind of like that. This is gonna be so delicious. So I went ahead and put this delicious meal into my Ninja cooking system. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on high for 4 hours because it's already 12:30 here in our Pacific Standard Time and I wanna have it ready to eat tonight. So here it is, it's looking delicious and yum, look at that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the lid on here and we'll let it get cooking. And when it's all done, I will come back and show you what it looks like when it's plated. Basically, we're gonna sprinkle some cheese on top, some shredded cheese. You can sprinkle fresh cilantro on top if you have it. I don't have actually any fresh cilantro, but I have some dehydrated cilantro. And you can serve it with lime wedges. Very traditional. I don't have lime, but I do have lemons, lots of lemons. So I'll probably just be serving it with lemon wedges tonight. So we'll check back in 4 hours when it's dinner time and I'll show you how it looks all plated up and ready to eat. And we'll do a taste test. Oh, wow. Look at this. The soup is done. Yum. So now what you do is you just go down and shred the chicken. And there are several ways to shred the chicken. This has been cooking all day. It's really soft. I'm just going to leave it in the pot and just use the spoons to shred it up. If you want, you can take it out, put it on a plate and shred it that way. It's up to you how you decide to shred it. But I like to just shred it right in the pot. As you can see, it's shredding really nicely here. Just using 2 spoons. So the chicken is so soft. The soup has smelled up the entire house. I was out and when I came back, I thought, oh my goodness, I got actually hungry just from smelling the soup. It smells really, really good. So as you can see, it's shredding nicely just by using my spoon. My 2 spoons. Now you serve it, you can serve it, like I said, with fresh cilantro. You can serve it with lime wedges. And you can sprinkle cheese on top. I'm actually out of shredded cheese. I have sliced cheese and I have some gorgonzola cheese. I actually am going to put the gorgonzola on it. I am not going to use lime, but I'm going to use one of my lemons from my garden. And I'm just going to sprinkle a little dehydrated cilantro on. So this is looking great. I'm going to go ahead and plate it up. And I'll show you how delicious this will look. And we'll do a taste test. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and plate this. I'm gonna spoon some of the soup right on in the bowl. I know it sounds a little weird to put gorgonzola cheese in a Mexican dish since gorgonzola is Italian, but it's all I have and I'm just gonna experiment. I put a little dehydrated cilantro. I'm just gonna sprinkle some of this on here. This is left over from something else I made. And we have a few lemons here, so I'll just put a lemon here and a lemon here, and we will squeeze it when we eat it tonight. So here's Tomato Tim's. Now I'm gonna go ahead and spoon another plate. This is so filled with so much goodness because of everything that I grew in my garden. And can't wait to try this. Okay, so I have my bowl of green enchilada soup here. I've got my lemon. I'm gonna squeeze a little lemon over it. And I'm gonna go ahead and try it. Let's see if it passes my taste test. This is really good. I know I'm biased because I grew everything and made it, but I'm gonna try to really let you know what the flavors are. I really taste the peppers. There's a little bit of spice because I put in my own homegrown peppers plus dehydrated peppers. I can taste that. I also taste the tartness of the lemon, kind of enhance the flavor. It is really good. It tastes like chicken tortilla soup, but it does have a little twist on it because instead of the red enchilada sauce, it has the green sauce on it. So it has a tomatillo, which I think is giving it a little bit more of the tart flavor. But this is certainly delicious. I think it would be really good with a melted shredded cheddar cheese on top. So the gorgonzola cheese that I put on is changing the flavor a little bit, the flavor profile a little bit. It's still really good though. Thank you so much for following me and Tim in our channel, Organic Oasis. I hope you try this recipe. If you don't grow tomatillos and you don't have your own green enchilada sauce, go ahead and buy some at the grocery store. They actually have some really good organic green enchilada sauce at the grocery store that I've seen. So you can still make this. Even if you don't grow your own produce, you can go ahead and buy the equivalents at the grocery store and try making it. It's really good. And you know what? It's delicious. I'm going to eat it with tortilla chips. It is delicious for a cozy winter night like tonight. And it's a great winter food, but I think I would also, just because of the flavor profile, it's like I would eat tacos in the summer. I would eat this enchilada, green enchilada soup in the summer as well. It just, the flavor profile would go in warm weather as well as the cold weather. Please subscribe and follow along, and you can find out more things to grow in the garden in your suburban backyard, and also what to do with them and how to prepare them for your family and have delicious meals and nutritious. Thanks for watching.